Nestled deep in the forests of New England, Crystal Lake was a popular summer destination, known for its crystal-clear waters and idyllic surroundings. But beneath its tranquil surface lay a chilling legend that locals spoke of in hushed tones, a ghostly figure that haunted the lake, seeking someone to help her find peace. In the summer of 1998, Emma, a 16-year-old high school student, was spending her vacation at Crystal Lake with her family. Her parents had rented a cozy cabin near the water, and Emma was looking forward to a relaxing break from school. She spent her days swimming, sunbathing, and exploring the surrounding woods with her dog, Max. On the evening of July 15th, Emma decided to take a late-night swim while her parents were attending a bonfire party on the beach. The moonlit sky cast an eerie glow over the lake, and the water shimmered like glass. As Emma swam further from the shore, she relished the solitude and freedom of the open water. But then something cold brushed against her leg. Startled, she paused and looked around. The lake was still and silent, except for the gentle lapping of the water. Dismissing it as a fish, Emma continued swimming, but a sudden feeling of unease crept over her. Suddenly, she heard faint cries for help echoing across the lake. They were distant but unmistakable, the desperate pleas of someone in distress. Emma's heart raced as she turned towards the source of the sound, spotting a faint figure in the water. Compelled to help, Emma swam towards the cries. The closer she got, the more she could make out the figure of a young girl with long, flowing hair. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with fear as she struggled to stay afloat. Emma called out to her, but the girl didn't respond, her gaze locked on something only she could see. As Emma reached out to grab the girl's hand, the figure suddenly vanished beneath the water, leaving only ripples in its wake. Confused and frightened, Emma searched the area, diving below the surface in a desperate attempt to find the girl. But there was no trace of her, just the cold, dark depths of the lake. Panicked, Emma swam back to shore and ran to the bonfire party, breathlessly recounting her encounter to her parents and the other guests. The locals listened intently, their expressions a mix of fear and resignation. An older woman, Mrs. Hayes, stepped forward, her voice trembling as she spoke. "You've seen the drowning ghost," she said solemnly. "Her name was Lily, and she died in this lake years ago. Every summer, she appears to someone, seeking help, but never finding peace." Intrigued and horrified, Emma asked for more details. Mrs. Hayes explained that Lily had been a young girl who drowned in the lake over 50 years ago. Despite a massive search effort, her body was never recovered. Her grieving family believed her spirit lingered, trapped in the lake, forever reliving her tragic death. Determined to understand the legend, Emma spent the next few days researching Lily's story. She learned that Lily had been an excellent swimmer, but a sudden storm had caught her by surprise, pulling her under. Her family had erected a small memorial near the lake, a plaque with her name etched into the stone. Haunted by the encounter, Emma returned to the lake one last time. She stood at the edge of the water, holding a bouquet of lilies she had picked from the wildflowers nearby. She whispered a prayer for Lily, hoping to offer some semblance of comfort to the restless spirit. As Emma tossed the flowers into the lake, she felt a sudden warmth envelop her, as if an invisible presence was thanking her for her kindness. The lake shimmered in the sunlight, and for a brief moment, Emma thought she saw Lily's reflection smiling back at her from the water. With a heavy heart, Emma turned away, leaving the lake behind. Though she never saw the ghost again, she felt a deep connection to Lily's story, a reminder of the fragile line between life and death. The legend of the drowning ghost of Crystal Lake lived on, but Emma hoped that her small act of compassion had brought Lily one step closer to finding peace. To this day, Crystal Lake remains a beautiful but haunting destination, drawing visitors who seek the thrill of encountering its ghostly legend. Those who venture into its depths are reminded of the young girl who lost her life there, a poignant tale of sorrow and the enduring search for closure. In the summer of 2010, a group of college friends decided to spend a weekend camping in the Adirondack Mountains. They were looking forward to a weekend of hiking, fishing, and campfire stories under the stars. The group included Emma, Jake, Sarah, and Mike, all eager for a break from their busy lives in the city. They arrived at the campsite, a picturesque spot near a serene lake surrounded by dense forests. As they set up their tents, the group felt an exhilarating sense of freedom and adventure. They spent the day exploring the trails, swimming in the lake, and enjoying the beauty of nature. As night fell, the friends gathered around a crackling campfire, roasting marshmallows and sharing spooky stories. The fire cast flickering shadows on the trees, and the night was filled with the sounds of crickets and distant owls. The group was relaxed and happy, enjoying the simple pleasures of camping. Suddenly, they heard rustling in the bushes nearby. Assuming it was a wild animal, they laughed it off and continued their conversation. But the rustling grew louder and closer. Before they could react, a disheveled man stumbled into their campsite, startling everyone. The man looked lost and confused, wearing tattered clothes and carrying a battered backpack. His hair was unkempt, and his eyes were wide with fear. "Help me," he muttered, his voice barely audible. "They're after me." Emma, the first to regain her composure, approached the man cautiously. "Who are you?" she asked gently. The man looked at her, but his expression was distant, as if he were seeing something far away. "The shadows," he whispered. "They want me." The friends exchanged uneasy glances. Jake offered the man some water, which he accepted gratefully, but drank with trembling hands. "We should call for help," Sarah suggested, her voice tinged with concern. But before they could act, the man suddenly turned and ran back into the woods, disappearing into the darkness. The encounter left the group shaken and bewildered. They debated whether to follow him or report the incident to the authorities. Ultimately, they decided to stay put, not wanting to risk getting lost in the woods at night. The following morning, the group made their way to the nearest ranger station to report the encounter. The ranger, an older man with a stern face, listened intently as they described the man's appearance and behavior. As they spoke, the ranger's expression grew more serious. "I've heard this story before," the ranger said gravely. "You're not the first to see him." Confused, the friends pressed for more information. The ranger explained that similar sightings had been reported in the area for years. According to local legend, the man was believed to be the ghost of a camper who had vanished without a trace in the 1980s. Despite several search efforts, his body was never found. Some say he got lost in the woods and succumbed to the elements, while others believe something more sinister happened. The friends were stunned. They had encountered a ghost, a phantom lost in the wilderness, forever seeking help. The ranger warned them to be cautious and advised against camping in that area alone at night. The group spent the rest of the weekend exploring the safer parts of the mountains, but the eerie encounter lingered in their minds. Every rustle of the leaves, every shadow in the woods reminded them of the phantom camper and his desperate plea for help. As they packed up their campsite and headed back to the city, they couldn't shake the feeling that they had witnessed something otherworldly. The experience became a chilling story they shared with friends, a reminder of the mysteries hidden in the depths of the forest. Years later, the memory of that summer camping trip still haunts them, a ghostly reminder of the man lost in the woods, forever trapped between this world and the next. And though they never returned to that campsite, the legend of the phantom camper continued to grow, adding another chapter to the haunting tales of the Adirondack Mountains.